Alright, let's get right to it. We're starting super late. Who knows how long this stream could go. I got sidetracked tonight with other stuff, and also, I'm gonna say it right now, I might sound a little bad, might sound a little rough. Allergies just, I think it's, we had a sudden little bit of rain here, and I think that might have kicked up some allergies type stuff, so I'm sniffling, voice sounding a bit rough. I apologize. And it's already late, but I didn't want to miss a complete Higurashi stream, so I'm gonna try my best to read for an hour and a half or so. I may feel horrible though. Try my best. I'll try to mute myself if I start to sneeze though. That I'll try to prevent. Like right there. That was a sneeze. That's why there was a long, awkward pause. I'm sorry. Okay, we're fine. I can read for a little bit. I'll monitor audio as we go through this. Here we go. Please explain, Kanao-san. Oh yeah, the whole thing was that he was taken off the investigation, right? Or he was told that the investigation is ending from high above. That's the directive. Please explain. I can't accept that they're suddenly halting the investigation. Speaking from inside Chief Yamaoki's office, I shouted into the receiver in a rough voice. It was unreasonable. The director's orders may be absolute, but this wasn't one I could just accept and move on. Wasn't this supposed to be a secret investigation in the first place? Upper management shouldn't even be aware of it. Then why? Kanao-san. Thanks to the support of a lot of people and after great sacrifices, we're finally beginning to grasp it. The truth behind the threat of Oyashiro-sama that the villagers of Hinamizawa believe in. Please, let me keep investigating until we learn something. I beg you. Kasuga-kun. On the other end of the phone, I could hear Kanao-san let out a sigh. Based on the tone of that breath, I could tell that the decision was no longer up for debate. But even so, I couldn't stop there. Kanao-san! Kanao-san! This is an order from the director. Do you understand what it means to go against it? Yes, I think I do. But we won't accomplish anything if we end the investigation here. We'll be left with nothing. If at all possible, please give me the chance to appeal to Director Kataoka directly. That's how big this case is, Kano-san. I'd like to think I understand how you feel. Believe me. I myself asked Director Kataoka to consider several times. However, the message came in today. It came from the National Police Agency Security Bureau, and it explicitly mentioned both of us by name. National Police Agency? Why? The Security Bureau of the National Police Agency was the headquarters of public security across the entire country. The Metropolitan Police Department I worked for fell under their umbrella, and public security police carried out activities all around the nation under their orders. Yet, how were they able to learn about our research activities? There have been several strange incidents centered around Kageboushi City, where you're located, correct? Some of those incidents were classified as wide area incidents, so the National Policy Agency was dispatched.
ひなみ沢出身者に対する聞き込みを行っている刑事がいるという情報が彼らに伝わったらしい。
And at the time, they learned there were detectives in the area gathering information from former Hinamizawa villagers.
しかし、それでなぜ警備局がこちらにストップをかけてくるんですか？
But why would the security bureau want to put a stop to that?
少なくとも今回の調査活動はひなみ沢大災害の背後にあった住民たちに関与する者の存在を探るといったものです。
At the very least, this investigation is intended to explore the cause of the Great Hinamizawa disaster.
警備局の関与するところではないはずじゃないですか。
The security bureau shouldn't be interfering with that.
検察庁の話では広域事件として社会的影響を考慮して情報規制が行われるらしい。
According to the National Police Agency, they're enacting information regulations in consideration of the social impact of this incident.
で、その捜査の邪魔になるから活動を控えるようにというのが表向きの理由だけどね。
And this investigation interferes with that, so it's being halted. At least, that's their official reason.
表向き？
Official reason?
じゃあ本当の理由は何なんですか？
Well then, what's the real reason? Deep sigh.
君の周りに誰かいるかい？
Is there anyone else around you?
いえ、私だけです。
No, it's just me.
うん。
Okay. Oishi-san and Chief Yamaoki were waiting in a separate room, likely out of consideration that this was a public safety affair. But based on that precondition, it was clear that Kano-san was about to give me confidential information that he investigated in secret. My entire body tensed as I recognized the weight of that implication. Nonetheless, I answered, "Please tell me."
圧力をかけてきたのは内閣調査室だ。
We were under pressure from the Cabinet Research Division.
今のところ担当名までは分かっていないが間違いない。
I don't know yet the name of the person in charge, but there's no doubt about it. What? Cabinet Research Division. That was an agency that collected and analyzed information related to important policies of cabinet ministers, including the Prime Minister. So why on earth would they obstruct a public safety investigation? Moreover, the subject we're investigating is a terrible incident, but it revolves around a rural village in a simple commuter town. It's not a major economic region for the country, and it's not the sort of place that normally receives government scrutiny. So why on earth? It's even more incomprehensible than the Security Bureau ordering an end to the investigation.
加納さん、
Kano-san,
その理由はわかりますか？
do you know the reason?
すまない。
I'm sorry.
それ以上の深入りは私にとっても危険が大きすぎるんだ。
It's too dangerous for me to dig any deeper.
ただ、その関係者が暗躍して警察庁と我々に圧力をかけてきた。それだけは間違いがない。
But the people involved put a lot of pressure on the National Police Agency and onto us. There's no mistaking that.
そうですか。
Is that so?
君の気持ちは痛いほどわかる。
I'm painfully aware of how you feel.
私も君には割に合わない仕事をお願いしてしまったものだと後悔している。
I also regret that the mission I sent you on is now pointless.
それでも分かってもらいたい。
Still, I want you to understand.
内調が乗り出してきたとなれば、もはや国家レベルの政治的判断がこの件には関わっていることになる。
Now that the Cabinet Intelligence Research Office is involved, this case is involved in political decisions on the national level.
その影響力は君も前の事件でよく分かっているだろう。
You know how much of an influence they can have based on a previous incident, don't you?
ええ。
Yes.
ですが、
But
ちょっと待ってください。加納さん、
please, wait a second, Kano-san.
今何とおっしゃいました？
What did you say just now?
え？
Huh?
この件も前の事件と同じように政治的判断が働いて。
The political influence here is just like that in the old case of yours.
違います。その前です。
That's not it. Before that.
今、内調とお聞きしましたが。
You said something about a cabinet office just now.
まあ、内閣調査室の略称だよ。
Ah, yeah. The cabinet office.
英語名ではキャビネットインテリジェンス&リサーチオフィス。略してシロとも呼ぶがね。
Their full name is the Cabinet Intelligence and Research Office, and they're also known by the acronym Zero.
君も知っているだろ
You know that too, right? I knew it. It was an acronym that frequently came up during work. But I couldn't make the connection because they didn't seem to have any relevance to this investigation. However...
南警部は救急隊員に漏らしていた言葉です。
An emergency responder heard Chief Inspector Manai's final words.
白と内調
Zero and cabinet office. Oh, yeah.
どうした赤坂君
What's wrong, Kasuka-kun?
もしもし
Hello?
もしもし
Hello? I punched the chief's desk with enough force to break my fist. They were the ones who stopped my investigation. They were the ones who blockaded information about incidents related to the Hinamizawa natives as a wide area incident. And they even robbed Chief Inspector Manai of her life. I was them. It was them. It was all them. Why? Why? What national secret was hiding beneath this great Hinamizawa disaster? It killed 2,000 villagers, and you mean the people who escaped from that disaster have been caught up in bizarre incidents that robbed them of their lives. What the hell were they scheming that would make them go even as far as killing a detective trying to unearth that secret? And, even though I've managed to grasp the shadow of the tail, I've been forced to retreat without gaining anything. Then, what was the point in coming here at all? Damn it! Damn it! How can they get away with this injustice? With something so cruel? Saturday, July 9th, 1983. The rain was pouring like a waterfall last night. Even after the rain let up, it was still a bit chilly for the day in July, and my throat was starting to feel irritated. Maybe I caught a cold. Come to think of it, my body felt a little heavy when I got up from the hotel bed. Of course, that might just be because I've been feeling depressed lately. How pitiful. I sat down on one of the shade lounges in the break room and fiddled with a warm can of black tea in both my hands, muttering to myself in self-loathing. Please cheer up. Suddenly, I saw the figure of Chief Inspector Manai sitting in the chair before me, smiling my way, and it quickly dissipated. Come to think of it, that was where she sat when she ate through that mountain of hamburgers. With those eating habits, she had a life of medical troubles to look forward to in the near future. I've been planning to warn her about that when I got the chance. But she was already gone, so there was no sense worrying about it now. It's not that easy. It's not that easy to cheer up. I responded to the figure that was no longer there, and I lamented how powerless and irrational I'd become. Oh, I accidentally hit the button. My finger slipped. How powerless and irrational I'd become as I tightly squeezed the can in my hands. I'm struggling. Okay, after that, I let Oishi-san and the others know that I received orders to suspend my investigation. Oishi-san was discouraged at first, but like a true veteran, he quickly moved on and actually tried to cheer me up. Unfortunately, if it's a direct government order, there's nothing we can do. I'll continue the investigation on my end and let you know as soon as I learn anything. Oishi-san, please be careful. I definitely don't want to hear about another stabbing. No. Thanks for your concern. Yes, I have no intention of dying. I can't die so easily, because it's not just my life I'm responsible for here. After saying that, Oishi-san smacked his chest with his large fist. Thinking about the deep sorrow engraved in that thought, couldn't say anything. Inspector Akasuka. We will continue to work on this as much as we can. so please leave the rest to us.
犯人は必ず私たちが逮捕して、その首をあなたのところへ持っていきます。
We absolutely will apprehend the culprit and bring you their head.
山沖所長。
Chief Yamaoki.
まどか君のことも任せてください。
Madoka-kun, please leave it to me. Those two are feeling the most sorrow and anger over this, far more than I. Yet they were encouraging me, so it took all I had just to say, please do. However, I didn't tell them the meaning behind Chief Inspector Manai's last words. There was no way I could bring myself to say it. How could I tell the people who passionately believed in the justice system that their beloved country is willing to take someone's life for political reasons? Every time I fulfilled my duties as a public security official, I felt a little more of the sadness and helplessness in the world. First off, who do the police even work for? The public? The country? Or a few powerful people? Even though I realized absolute justice was a naive illusion, I devoted myself to working in the name of justice and allowing people to live in peace. I thought nothing would shake that. And no matter what obstacles were in the way, even if I was forced to take a detour, I did my best to carry it through to the end because I believed that doing the right thing was its own reward. And yet, what does it mean to be a detective in the wake of this unbelievably hopeless situation? I took my empty can and tossed it into the trash. But the trajectory was slightly off. It bounced off the edge of the bin and fell to the ground, making an unpleasant sound as it rolled down. And when I saw a pair of feet next to the point where it stopped, I raised my head.
Oishi-san.
Oishi-san. Unbeknownst to me, Oishi-san was standing at the entrance.
荒れてますね、赤坂さん。
Lost your temper, eh, Akasaka-san?
こういう時は紅茶よりもビールの方が合いますよ。
At times like this, beer is more appropriate than tea, eh? As he said that, Oishi-san picked up the can and tossed it in the trash.
選別と言ってはご不快に思われるかもしれませんがね。
Might be offensive to call this a parting gift.
君吉夏美が以前沖宮で通っていた高校と中学の内申書を昨日手に入れることができました。
But I was able to obtain Natsumi Kimiyoshi's middle school and high school records from Okinomiya yesterday.
ちょっと赤坂さんにも見ていただこうと思いましてね。
Would you care to take a quick look, Akasaka-san?
よく入手できましたね。
I'm surprised you managed to get those. No.
まあ高校の方は令状を見せたらあっさり手に入りましたが、中学の方はいや難儀しました。
Well, high school was willing to give it up immediately as soon as I showed them the warrant, but the middle school was a bit more difficult.
運がいいことに彼女の担任が私の顔なじみでしたから、なんとか協力してもらいましたがね。
Fortunately, her old homeroom teacher was a familiar face, and I convinced her to cooperate. Seems a search warrant was issued through the neighboring prefectural police by Chief Yamaoki's mediation. Then, Oishi-san spread out Natsumi Kimiyoshi's reports and documentation.
で、高校の資料によりますとね、まあ女子生徒に対する一般的な当たり障りのない評価ですな。
So, according to the high school records, she seemed like your typical female student.
おとなしく真面目で、人の話をよく聞く。
She seemed to respect the adults and listen to them.
交友関係もそこそこで、成績も中の上から上の下あたり。
She had decent relations with the other students, and her grades were a little above and below average.
どこにでもいる普通の女の子ですよ。
She seemed like an ordinary girl, like you'd find anywhere.
確かに。そうですね。
Indeed. I agree. I thought back to my first meeting with her. At first glance, she seemed like a kind-hearted girl who enjoyed reading books. She seemed a little shy and had some difficulty talking with others, but that was pretty common for girls her age, so it didn't seem noteworthy. However,
ところがね、
and yet,
中学2年の時はちょっとどころかかなり違うんですよ。
she seemed quite different in her second year of middle school.
これ見てください。
Please take a look at this.
これ、君吉夏美ですか？
Huh? Is this Natsumi Kimiyoshi? I noticed the photo of her face attached there and was surprised when I saw it. The Natsumi Kimiyoshi I saw there had long hair with bangs that covered her eyes, making her look like a ghost.
ねえ
Right.
彼女の中学1年から2年の間のあだ名なんですがね
She had a nickname in her first and second years in middle school.
座敷わらしって言われていたそうなんですよ
They called her Zashiki Warashi, after a type of poltergeist from folklore.
座敷わらし
Zashiki Warashi?
陰気なイメージでそう呼ばれていたんでしょうな
She had a gloomy look to her, so I guess that's why they called her that.
まず協調性がなくいつも一人でいることが多い
She wasn't very sociable and she preferred to spend her time alone.
人に話しかけられても反応が鈍く何か気に入らないことがあると全く話をしなくなる
Even when people spoke to her, she was slow to react, and she didn't like the and if she didn't like the topic, she wouldn't respond at all.
学校も休みがちで何度か担任が家庭訪問を行っている
She missed a lot of days of school, and her homeroom teacher paid her home several visits. This went beyond being passive. She was a downright problematic student. Her isolation within the class probably put her at odds with the other students, and they bullied her for it.
で、なんでクラスの子たちと遊ばないのかって1年の担任が質問したことがあるらしいんですがね
So, her first year homeroom teacher decided to ask her why she wouldn't play with her classmates.
その返答がこうです
And this is how she answered.
お母さんが怒るからと
Because mom would get angry.
母親が怒る
Her mother would get angry?
もっともその件で母親の君吉春子に相談したら以後は何を聞かれても母親に問題があるとは一切言わなくなったらしいですけどね
However, the teacher talked to her mother, Haruko Kimiyoshi, not Haruka, thinking of Yakuza, Kimiyoshi about the matter. After that, no matter how many times the teacher asked Natsumi about her problems with her mother, she never said anything.
ただそこは全く変わりませんでした
Yet, her behavior didn't change at all.
おそらく母親が親の悪口を言うなとでもきつく注意したんでしょう
Her mother probably scolded her and told her not to speak ill of her parents.
その証拠に今度は先生とも話さずにますます引きこもるようになったみたいで
As proof of that, she stopped talking with the teacher, going deeper into her own shell.
なんてことを
My goodness. It was a clear example of overly extreme family discipline gone wrong. Natsumi Kimiyoshi wasn't trying to blame her parents. She was asked a direct question and answered obediently, and if her parents considered their role in this, the problem could have easily been solved right away. However, if her mother didn't interpret it as a call for help from a child, but instead as an attempt at publicly humiliating her, what would happen after she scolded her?
その子はきっとますます誰も信用しなくなる
That girl. I'm gonna sneeze again. It didn't say that girl was gonna sneeze again. That girl would certainly lose all trust in other people. I'm gonna throw up a BRB and try to go clean my nose. I'm so sorry. I'm sorry, I'm struggling. Okay, I'm back. Sorry. I just gotta get through one section. We just gotta get through one section like this. That girl would certainly lose all trust in other people. She was still mentally immature, so after being reprimanded by her mother, she probably rationalized it as, if I talk to the teacher again, mom will get angry. And then she avoided talking to anyone. She was worried that her mother might get angry if she spoke to anyone for any reason. Then she drove herself deeper into isolation.
しかしそれならなんで 君吉夏美は急に性格が一変したんです。
But then why did Natsumi Kimiyoshi's personality suddenly change?
何かきっかけがあったんですか？
There must have been some trigger, right?
それがですね。
That's the thing.
中学の担任もよくわからないと言っていました。
Her middle school teacher said she didn't understand it either.
で、その性格が急に明るくなった時期はいつぐらいかと聞きましたら、
So I asked when her personality suddenly brightened up.
3年前に入院した後からがそうだったと。
And it happened after she was hospitalized 3 years ago.
入院？
Hospitalized?
彼女は何の病気で入院したんですか？
What sort of illness was she hospitalized for?
貧血症の治療と言っていましたね。
They said it was treatment for anemia.
どうやら君吉夏美は普段から理由もなく突然気を失うことが多かったらしく、それで2ヶ月近くも入院していたとのことです。
Apparently, Natsumi Kimiyoshi frequently had episodes where she would suddenly faint without reason, so she was hospitalized for nearly 2 months.
幸い時期が夏休みと被っていましたから、学業にはさほど影響がなかったそうですがね。
Fortunately, this happened during summer vacation, so didn't have much of an impact on her academics. Anemia. It happens due to an iron deficiency in the blood that prevents the flow of oxygen, and the symptoms include dizziness and fainting during exercise or regular activity. It's not an incurable disease, but examination and treatment can take a long time because of the risk of complications with other diseases.
しかし入院して体調が良くなっていきなり精神状態まで改善されるものなんでしょうか？
However, if she came out of the hospital in better physical shape, would that suddenly improve her mental condition?
体調不良が普段からの素行の悪さの原因としてもなんだか変ですね。
Even if poor physical health was the cause of her bad behavior, that sounds strange.
まあ担任としては娘の入院を機に母親が反省して厳しすぎる教育方針を改めたのかとも思って深くは追求しなかったらしいんですがね。
Well, her teacher didn't pursue the subject too deeply. She assumed that her mother had a change of heart after her daughter's hospitalization and decided her education policies were too strict.
で、地元の高校に無事入学。
So, she enrolled in the local high school without any problems.
その担任の話では一時期彼女を都会の進学校に通わせる話もあったそうなんですが、入院でそれも立ち消えになったようですね。
According to the teacher, they had discussed sending her to a prep school in the city, but they dropped that idea after hospitalization.
都会の進学校に通わせるってのは母親の意向だったんですか？
The way you said that, does that mean it was her mother who wanted her to go to a prep school in the city?
うん。
Yes.
かなり上昇志向の強い教育ママさんだったようで。
She was apparently an overly education-minded mother who had a strong desire for her daughter to aim for the top.
君吉夏美の体調を第一に考えていた祖母の君吉明とはよく意見がぶつかっていたと町内でも噂になっていたそうです。
Rumors were going around the town that she frequently got into arguments with her mother, Aki Kimiyoshi, who accused her of not thinking enough about Natsumi Kimiyoshi's physical health.
実際、柿内市への転居は祖母がお社様のたたりを恐れてという理由のほかに、
But in truth, the grandmother was also concerned that moving to Kakuichi City would invoke the curse of Oishiro-sama.
君吉夏美の体調を理由に大反対したと高校の時の担任は言っていました。
So her high school teacher suspected she used Natsumi Kimiyoshi's physical condition as further reason to justify her opposition to the move. Life in the city had a completely different rhythm and flow compared to a rural town. Natsumi had only just overcome her sense of isolation and gained the ability to interact with others normally, so if she was forced to live in an unfamiliar place, would she regress to her old personality? Clearly, her grandmother Aki was worried about that. However, Haruko saw her daughter's improvement as a sign she could push her daughter into a good environment. Certainly, if you just want to get a job in a rural area and raise a family, your academic background won't make much of a difference. However, if you're aiming to work for a major company in the city, you'll need to attend an appropriate college. With that in mind, a prep school in the city would be better able to provide classwork that prepares students for college entrance exams.
実際私もそれと無縁ではなかったが。
In fact, I went through the same thing. Materials I read earlier mentioned that Haruko Kimiyoshi had attended a rural university with a poor reputation, and her husband, Toji Kimiyoshi, went to the same university. They probably experienced difficulties finding jobs at their educational level, and they were trying to push their daughter into higher education to keep her from suffering the same fate. I didn't think that was wrong, but the implication was quite different if Natsumi Kimiyoshi understood that, or if she was just obeying her mother out of fear. Could that dissatisfaction turn into hatred or grudge, gradually making her more and more depressed until something triggered her to explode? Those emotions could be the driving force behind murderous intent, or more passive emotions like rejection.
どうしました赤坂さん。
What's wrong, Kasuka-san?
大石さん、
Oishi-san,
これはあくまで家庭の話なんですが。
this is only a hypothesis. I thought back to the report Chief Inspector Manai received from Matsuoka of the Gifu Prefectural Police about Natsumi Kimiyoshi's medicine, and I explained my reasoning to Oishi-san.
君吉夏美が普段から服用していたのが抗興奮系、抗精神伝達系の薬だって話でしたよね。
Natsumi Kimiyoshi took that anti-excitement mental suppression medication on a regular basis, right?
だとしたら、その薬を服用するようになってから。
If so, once she started taking the medicine.
いや、服用するようになったからこそ、彼女は性格が一変したということではないでしょうか。
Rather, specifically because she started taking it. Could that be the reason her personality completely changed?
は
Huh?
あそれはどういう。
What are you getting at?
つまりです。
In other words,
彼女の症状は貧血症ではなく失神だったのではという話です。
her underlying symptom wasn't actually anemia, it was fainting. They're often confused, but the root cause might have been a mental problem instead of anemia. There is a mental phenomenon that can cause the mind to flip the breaker and shut off consciousness. For example, when a person feel violent urges, I think it's supposed to be feels violent urges, instinct can fill a person's mind with destructive desires and murderous intent, but the rational part of the brain can recognize that action as improper and try to suppress it. And as people grow older, the rational part of the brain is strong enough to overpower their instinct, so most adults are able to avoid taking impulsive actions. However, what if the subject was going through adolescence and the rational part of the brain wasn't mature enough to handle it? Children who haven't developed the mechanisms to deal with sudden surges of instinct wouldn't be able to control the explosion of emotions, and in some cases, those thoughts can turn into actions. Typical examples include destructive behavior, murder, suicide. One cause of adolescents hurting others in surges of emotions without any clear reason or basis that they lack the ability to suppress instinct. Still, there are some children who mature early and are able to think rationally, especially in women who seem to mentally mature faster than men. So, what choices do those boys and girls make to suppress instinct? That's right, an intentional severance of consciousness invoked to avoid emergencies, otherwise known as fainting.
おそらく君吉夏美は同年代の子と比べて我慢強い性格だったのでしょう。
Natsumi Kimiyoshi probably had a more patient personality than other kids around the same age.
だから本来なら異常行動に出るような激しい衝動に駆られた時は家に引きこもるか。
So, when she got violent impulses that can lead to abnormal behavior,
それでも苦しい場合は意識を寸断することで行動に出ることを回避し続けていた。
she would either retreat into her shell, or her mind could shut off her consciousness whenever that wasn't enough to avoid taking action.
それが中学時代の他者との隔絶につながった。
And the frequency of those episodes led to her isolation from others during middle school. In other words, Natsumi wasn't isolated because she was bad at interacting with others. It was because she built a wall to block herself off so that she wouldn't act on her explosive / impulsive bursts of emotions towards others. All the while hiding the anger, sadness, and hatred she felt deep down from her unfair surroundings.
しかしそれがその巴ちゃんが分析を頼んでいた例の薬とどういう関係があるんですか？
But how does that relate to the medicine Tomoe-chan set out for analysis?
君吉夏美はその抗興奮系の薬を服用することで普段から鬱積していた黒い感情
Natsumi Kimiyoshi was taking these mental suppression drugs to alleviate her dark emotions.
つまり母親をはじめとした周囲への憎悪を解消することができた。
In other words, it allowed her to deal with the hatred she felt towards her surroundings that originated from her mother.
抜本的な問題解決にはとてもなっていませんが、少なくとも彼女の精神状態は証拠に落ち着いたのだから、高揚は確かにあったのでしょう。
Didn't fundamentally solve her problems, but at least settled her mentally. But it at least settled her mentally and allowed her to stay composed. So it's certainly effective.
その結果、彼女はマイナス感情を弱めることで、行動と思考が安定するようになり、
As a result, her negative emotions weakened, causing her actions and thoughts to stabilize.
常に爆発的な感情を抑え込もうとしていた緊張から解放されて、本来の明るさを取り戻した。
And she was released from the tension of constantly bottling up her explosive emotions, allowing her to regain her original cheery personality. Unfortunately, those dark emotions never completely disappeared, because those were also part of Natsumi Kimiyoshi's true feelings. In normal adolescent children, their dark emotions compete with their more rational light emotions, and they grow to reconcile the differences through a form of compromise. But if she was taking medication that forcibly suppressed those dark emotions, she would know how to reconcile them with her light emotions and thus never know her limitations. Thus, if her dark emotions were awakened by some trigger, began to manifest, she would have the mental fortitude necessary to control them.
いやー、失礼な話だが赤坂さん、なんだか推理小説並みに突飛な発想だ。
Sorry to say this, Sakasuka-san, but that's a crazy idea. Sounds like something you'd read in a mystery novel.
でも、一つの過程としてはどうですか？
But how about as a single theory?
確かに筋は通っています。
It certainly sounds reasonable.
あとは当時君吉夏美が入院していた病院の関係者に聞き込みを行えば何か突破口が見つかるかもしれませんね。
And if we question the people at the facility where Natsumi Kimiyoshi was hospitalized, maybe we'll reach a breakthrough.
彼女が入院していた理由は貧血症なのか、それとも精神的な疾患の治療だったのか。
The reason she was admitted to the hospital was it anemia or was it mental illness?
それが判明するだけでも状況は大きく変わってくると思います。
Depending how that pans out, I think it could drastically change the situation.
彼女が入院していた病院は分かっていますか？
Do you know where she was hospitalized?
それはまだ。
Nope, not yet.
しかしそうとなれば調べる価値は十分にあるでしょうな。
But it certainly sounds worth investigating.
いやいや、さすが赤坂さん、助かりましたよ。
Oh my, Kasuka-san, you've truly been a big help.
このまま私とコンビを組んで私立探偵事務所でも立ち上げませんか？
Why don't you and I join forces? Start our own private detective agency. No.
ですね。考えておきます。
I sneezed again. I think I caught it in time. Indeed. I'll consider it.
え？
Huh?
冗談ですよ。
No. I was kidding.
警視庁の優秀な人材を食うのも困りそうな貧乏探偵にしちまったら私は中央の人事のお偉方にぶん殴られちゃいますって。
Stealing such an excellent detective from the Metropolitan Police Department for some struggling detective agency would get me beat up by HR.
大石さん。
Oishi-san.
それじゃ私は早速その線を当たってみます。
Anyway, I'll get to work investigating that possibility right away.
何か分かったらお知らせしますので。では。
I'll let you know as soon as I learn something. Oishi-san left the break room after saying that. I watched his back as he headed off, then sighed and looked up at the ceiling. For a while, I did nothing but vaguely think to myself. A private detective agency, together with Oishi-san, huh? That didn't actually sound like such a bad idea. Whereas my current job was bogged down by overwhelmingly high pressure and constraints from above that were impossible to understand, the private detective industry was capable of dispensing justice all the time. Justice all the time at a smaller scale. It would allow me to delve deeper into the mysteries of Hinamizawa as a top priority. Wouldn't that be a better way to mourn the deaths of Rika-chan and Chief Inspector Minai? Just then. Uh-oh. This is Prefectural Police Headquarters, Beijing Kageboushi Station. Terrible radio impression. I repeat, this is Prefectural Police Headquarters, Beijing Kageboushi Station. A case of assault has been reported. The victim is a high school girl from this area. Oh shit, the scene of the crime is Saiki General Hospital. All staff, please prepare for immediate deployment. I repeat. Huh? Saiki General Hospital? That's where I went the other day to ask about the medicine. And the victim was a high school student? No way. For a moment, the face of Natsumi Kimiyoshi floated into my mind. Then... Inspector Akasaka. So this is where you were. It was Detective Fujita, running fast. He seemed to be in a bit of a panic, sweating and breathing hard like he was searching for something inside the police station. What's wrong, What's wrong, Detective Fujita? I'll tell you the story in the car. Please, come quickly. I boarded the car with Detective Fujita behind the wheel, and we headed to the crime scene at Saiki General Hospital. Unfortunately, Oishi-san had just left the station, so I contacted him on his pager and was still waiting for a reply. So, where's the culprit? It seems they ran away. It happened in the middle of the day, so there should have been a decent number of people out and about. But there were apparently no such witnesses this time. The victim is Chisato Saiki. The daughter of the Saiki Hospital director? Detective Fujita gave me an overview of the incident. The victim, Chisato Saiki, arrived at the hospital around 2 p.m. with her driver, Yamashina. She said she had plans to meet up with her father and intended to wait in the lobby until their scheduled meeting time. A few minutes later, the victim seemed to remember something and said, "I'm going out for a bit," to Yamashina, then left the hospital alone. After their scheduled meeting time passed, Yamashina thought it was suspicious that she hadn't come back even after her father arrived, so he searched the surrounding area. Then, he found the victim bleeding from her head on the ground in the garden by the Saiki Care and Welfare Center. He immediately brought her to the hospital and called the police. Damn. No weapons are found at the crime scene. And none of her belongings were taken, so it doesn't look like a robbery. The forensics team is currently investigating the premises to find footprints or other clues pointing to the culprit. The victim's injuries were relatively minor. She received 5 stitches to the head and is currently regaining consciousness. I suppose the victim wasn't able to see the assailant's face? Right. Apparently she was suddenly ambushed from behind, so she didn't have an opportunity to see anything. I tried asking her about other details, but had to stop midway due to her poor physical condition. I see. Could this be a random attack, or did the attacker hold a grudge? And if so, why? The victim, Chisato Saiki, seems to be a close friend of Natsumi Kimiyoshi. On top of that, Natsumi Kimiyoshi was working part-time at the Saiki Care and Welfare Center, where the crime took place. two police officers were standing in front of the hospital room where the victim, Chisato Saiki, was recovering. One of them was Detective Hanada.
ああ、お疲れ様です。赤坂警視。
Oh, thanks for helping out, Inspector Kasuka.
お疲れ様です。
Likewise.
状況は
So, what's the situation?
さっきまで眠っていたようですが、少し前に学友が入ってきて、中で話し込んでいます。
She was sleeping until a classmate stopped by a little while ago. They're talking inside. Listening carefully, I could hear a mix of sad and gentle voices coming from inside the hospital room. It was likely her friend came running over in concern and was now shedding tears of relief while the victim tried to reassure her.
話は聞けそうですか？
Does it look like we'll be able to question her?
医師と父親の了解は得ておりますが、
We've obtained consent from both the doctor and her father.
まだ精神的に安定しているとは言えない状況です。
But we can't say she's entirely mentally stable just yet.
簡単にあまり刺激をしないようお願いします。
So please, try not to overstimulate her.
わかりました。
Understood. I nodded to Detective Hanada, then knocked on the door of the hospital room. After a while, a firm voice called back. Who is it?
刑事の赤坂です。
It's Detective Akasuka.
少々お時間よろしいでしょうか？
Do you have a minute? I could clearly hear some wary breathing from the other side of the door. Sounds continued for a while, and the moment I began to fear I was being declined, a voice called back, "Come in."
失礼します。
Pardon me. In the hospital room, I found a girl lying in the bed, and a girl in a school uniform sitting on a chair next to her. Quietly pulled my police badge from my breast pocket and held it up for the two of them.
お体の具合の悪い中、誠に申し訳ありません。
I'm really sorry to do this while you're still recovering.
少しお聞きしたいことがあるのですが、ご協力いただけますでしょうか？
But I have a few things I'd like to ask you, so would you mind cooperating?
協力はしますが。
I'll cooperate. The victim, Chisato Saiki-san, lifted her upper body from the bed. She was wearing a gown and still looked in pain as she held her head. She looked to her friend and said, "It's fine," before turning back to me and speaking.
この通りの体ですから、あんまり長時間は勘弁してください。
As you can see, I'm not in the best of health, so please keep it quick.
それに、大抵のことはすでに別の刑事さんにお答えしています。
Plus, I've already told another detective most of the important information.
ええ、理解しています。
Yes, I understand.
そちらに行ってもよろしいでしょうか？
May I come closer?
はい。
Sure. I lightly bowed my head in appreciation, then moved beside the victim's bed, across from where her friend was sitting. Her friend glared at me with a distrusting expression on the verge of disgust. But in contrast, Chisato-san looked at me with a slightly gloomy expression.
時間もないので、率直に伺います。
I don't have a lot of time, so I'll be frank.
あなたの親しくされているご友人についてです。
I need to ask about a person close to you, a friend of yours. Of course, the moment I said that, Chisato-san turned her gaze downward and she started to bite her lip. I began to wonder if it would be alright to discuss this with her other friend sitting right there.
夏美の何を知りたいのですか？
What do you want to know about Natsumi? Chisato-san was still biting her lip, so the other girl responded on her behalf in a slightly trembling voice.
失礼ですが、あなたは？
Excuse me, but who are you?
私、牧村玉子と言います。
I'm Tamako Makamura.
ここの千里さんと同じく、夏美の、君吉夏美のクラスメートです。
Just like Chisato-san here, I'm a classmate of Natsumi. Natsumi Kimiyoshi.
そうですか。あなたも。
I see. You too.
夏美を疑っているんですか？
Do you suspect Natsumi?
もしそうなら見当違いです。
If so, you're making a mistake.
あの子はこんなひどいことできる子じゃないですから。
That girl was never capable of doing something so terrible.
玉子、あんた。
Tomoko, you...
いいえ、言わせて千里。
No, let me say this, Chisato.
私聞いたの、アキラちゃんから。
I heard from Akira-chan.
夏美がおかしくなったのは変な連中にファミレスに呼び出されてからだって。
Natsumi's strange behavior started after those weird people invited her to that restaurant.
その時夏美すごく怯えて泣いてたって。
Natsumi's so terrified at the time she cried.
それひょっとしてあなたたちの仲間ですか？
I don't suppose that was one of your people. You people, your people. After saying that, the girl across from me, Tomoko Makamura-san, glared at me with a look of hatred. Indeed, I couldn't help but remember how Natsumi-san looked like she wanted to run away back at that incident.
あなたたちが来てからあの子は変わってしまった。
The girl's changed since all of you came here.
今まで明るくて優しくてとっても可愛いいい子だったのに、あなたたちのせいで。
She was so kind, gentle, and cute until all of you got involved.
一体あの子が何をしたって言うんですか？
What on earth did you do to her?
タマコ。
Tomoko.
それなのに私
And yet,
私何も知らなくてあの子のこと疑ってひどいことを。
without knowing anything, doubted her and said terrible things about her.
千里に気が利かないって言ってたくせに、私が一番あの子のことを分かってあげてなくて。
Even though I told Chisato she was being inconsiderate, I was the one who failed to understand Natsumi the most.
そんな。
That's...
謝りたい。
I want to apologize.
何もできなくてごめんって。勝手に勘違いして嫌ったりしてごめんなさいって。私、夏美に謝りたい。
For being unable to do anything and for letting a misunderstanding drive me to hatred. I need to apologize to Natsumi.
そうでなきゃ。私。
Otherwise, I... Drip. Drip. Tears began spilling down the ground from Tomoko-san's face. Facing the strength of her compassion for a friend, I couldn't say anything to defend
おっ
myself.
しゃるように、君吉夏美さんに聞き込みを行ったのは
Oh, I wouldn't admit that.
私たちです。
It's as you say. We were the ones who interrogated Natsumi.
その方法に行き過ぎがあったことも認めます。
And I admit that we overstepped our bounds.
言葉だけではどうしようもありませんが、
I don't think words
謝罪
alone...
だけはさせてください。
I don't think words alone can excuse this, but please allow me to apologize.
謝られたって。今さら謝られたって。
Oh, you're apologizing. You think you can apologize to this now?
やめなよ、タマコ。
Stop it, Tomoko.
刑事さんたちだって事情があってのことなんだ。
Detectives have circumstances of their own that you need to consider.
この人を責めるのは筋違いだし、むしろ
It's unreasonable to blame him. Instead, Chisato-san tried to comfort Tomoko-san, who was still crying, but then she grimaced as she seemed to remember something. When I saw that, I decided to follow up with a more difficult question.
あなたは君吉夏美さんの事情をどの程度ご存知ですか？
How well do you know what Natsumi Kimiyoshi-san has been going through?
言いたくない気持ちはよくわかります。
I understand that you don't want to talk about it.
私だってこの件でたくさんの人に関わって多くの惨劇を目の当たりにしてきました。
I myself have seen many people get caught up in this incident, and that many tragedies that resulted.
そのせいで自分が多くの人に不幸をもたらしているのではないかと疑って恐れ、中途で調査をやめるべきではないかと何度も考えました。
Thanks to that, I've began to wonder if I've been spreading unhappiness to others, and I've repeatedly asked myself if I should halt this investigation.
ですが聞いてください、佐伯さん。
But please listen, Saiki-san.
あなたのご友人夏美さんはまだ生きています。
Your friend, Natsumi-san is still alive.
死者はどうあっても帰ってこないが、生きている人ならまだ救うことができるはずなんです。
Those who die can never return, but if someone is still alive, it means they can still be saved.
違いますか？
Isn't that so?
私が望むのは彼女の逮捕じゃない。彼女を救うことなんです。
My goal is not to arrest her, it's to save her.
それだけは信じてください。
Please, believe in that. Chisato-san's shoulder slightly twitched, and she tightened her grip on her blanket. Right. That's right. While delivering that answer, I thought back to what she said to me.
できれば救ってあげたいんです。
I'd like to save her, if I can.
あの子のことなんか他人のようには思えなくて。
I can't just treat her like a stranger. Chief Inspector Minai was thinking of Natsumi Kimiyoshi until the very end. This case would likely come to nothing thanks to my incompetence, but even so, in that case, I want to at least do all I can for the girl she wanted to save. It's the least I can do to atone, so she can rest a little easier.
夏美さんは今苦しんでいます。
Alright, I apologize. I'm gonna go address my nose one more time. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. It's a rough reading tonight. We'll get through it. I swear, allergies was not a thing even like several years ago that I was like even concerned about. Getting older, the only thing that's gotten worse about my body is some kind of susceptibleness to things just killing me sinus wise. Okay. Kasuga says Natsumi-san is suffering now.
それでも懸命に悪夢に抵抗して強行を抑えようとしている。
She's still working hard to resist her nightmares and control her dark side.
あなたを一度殴打して逃走したのがその証拠だ。
The fact that she only hit you once before running away is proof of that.
違いますか？
Wouldn't you agree?
本当に悪夢に支配されていたらあなたを殺害するまで襲い続けたはずだ。
If she were truly overtaken by her nightmares, she wouldn't have stopped until she killed you.
なのにそこまでしなかった。
But she didn't.
だから私はまだ彼女を救える道は残っていると信じています。
So, I believe there's still a way to save her.
刑事さん。
Detective. Chisato-san took a deep breath and opened her eyes, and Tamako-san looked away as she gripped at her chest. Right. Since I came here, I was already all but certain that Natsumi Kimiyoshi was the person who attacked Chisato Saiki-san. And after listening to the two of them in this room, I was absolutely convinced. They knew that she was the culprit. Nevertheless, they tried to hide it, to protect her. They felt incredible compassion for their friend. However...
佐伯さん、
Saiki-san.
彼女は確かに今回の事件で逮捕されるでしょう。
She will definitely be arrested for this incident.
それに元の生活に戻るためには血の滲むような努力をしなければいけない。
The only way to win back her old life is through blood and effort. No, regaining her old life was probably close to impossible by this point. After all the pain she's experienced, she was probably questioning whether it would be easier to take her own life.
しかしこれ以上の強行を犯せば
However,
今度こそ本当に取り返しがつかなくなる。
However, it'll be impossible to get her back if she carries out another atrocity.
それを食い止められるのはあなただ。
And the only one who can stop it is you.
あなたしかいないんです。
You're the only one. With all my might, I held my breath to steel myself as I held her hand on the bed and looked into her eyes. Maybe this is all a useless struggle, but even so, all hope hasn't been lost. Otherwise, her feelings, Chief Inspector Manai's desire to save her world, or to save her, would be just too painful. As a result, I need to do everything in my power to prevent any further violence. And then,
もう一度だけお伺いします。
one more time, I'll ask you one last time.
あなたを襲った犯人、あなたはその顔を見ましたか？
The person who attacked you, did you see their face? Chisato-san breathed in and out many, many times with a slight quiver on her lips. It may not have lasted very long, but for me, and the two friends of Natsumi Kimiyoshi sitting before me, the silence seemed to cause time to stop as the heavy air caused our bodies to freeze. The only thing I could hear was the faint cry of the Higurashi at dusk.
私を後ろから殴ってきたのは
The one who attacked me from behind was... And then, Chisato-san clenched Tamako-san's hand with both of her hands, then spoke in a soft voice.
夏美
Natsumi.
夏美が私の後ろから殴りかかってきたんです。
Natsumi was the one who attacked me from behind. Attention! All vehicles on Kageboushi Station. This is an emergency deployment. All investigators begin searching for the suspect of the attack at Saiki General Hospital, Natsumi Kimiyoshi. I repeat. The siren of the police... This music, though. The siren of the police car flashed red and made a tumultuous racket. Investigators heading to the Kimiyoshi household. If you encounter Natsumi Kimiyoshi, I'd strongly advise you to convince her to surrender voluntarily. Even if she offers resistance, we have been ordered to take her age into consideration and make her arrest as non-violent as possible. All investigators, please keep that in mind.
こちら藤田社。
This is the Fujita car.
命令了解。直ちに現場へと向かう。
Orders acknowledged. Head into the scene immediately. With Detective Fujita at the wheel, the scenery blew past me out the passenger side window. Will we make it in time? Will we not? I was up to the will of the gods at this point. However, the blood, sweat, and tears of many people brought us to this point. I wanted to finish this here. Truly, right here.
赤坂警視。
Inspector Akasuka?
はい。
Yes? With a siren blaring and the radio making a racket, Detective Fujita called out to me in a gentle tone that didn't match the surrounding atmosphere. And then,
こんな時に変なことを言いますよね。
it might be a strange thing to say at a time like this,
赤坂さんは偉くなってくださいよ。
but please, Kasuka-san, make it up in the ranks.
南井さんの口癖だったんです。
It was an old saying from Manai-san.
中途半端な権限だから正しいことをしたくてもできない。
We barely have any real authority, so can't do the right thing even when I want to.
だから私も偉くならないと。
So, I need to rise up in the ranks as well.
そのために頑張って優秀ってことを認められて出世するんだって。
That's why she did her best to have her skills acknowledged and get promoted.
藤田さん、
Fujita-san,
俺赤坂さんに期待していますから。
I have high expectations of you, Akasuka-san.
だって南井さん、赤坂さんのことずっと褒めていましたよ。
Because Manai-san praised you all the time.
頑張って腕磨いて、あなたみたいな優秀な人の部下として働けるようになりたい。
She even said she wanted to work under someone as persistent and talented as you.
あの人の気持ち、忘れないであげてくださいね。
Please, don't forget about how she felt. Damn.
ええ、もちろんです。
Yes, of course.
忘れやしませんよ。
I'll never forget.
決して。
My heart was racing with burning passion as I looked straight ahead at the passing scenery. Right. Just like Oishi-san, I can't afford to run away either. Yuki, Rika-chan, Chief Inspector Manai. I'm carrying the lives and dreams of many people. And Miyuki. Even though I felt regret about leaving her alone, Chief Inspector Manai encouraged me and said that she would understand one day. That's right, someday I want her to understand. But I throw myself into my detective work with firm convictions in my heart.
偉くなりますよ。絶対。
I'll rise up in the ranks. Absolutely.
ええ。死ぬ気で絶対にやってやります。
Yes, I'll do it. Or absolutely yes, I'll do it, even if it kills me. Seeing that reply, the look of determination on Detective Fujita's face eased into a smile as he nodded. And then... Uh-oh. Fujita-car, please respond! Fujita-san, Akasuka-san! Either of you, please come in! Suddenly, I heard Madoka-san screaming through the radio. Based on the light on the radio, this wasn't a broadcast communication. She was communicating only to us. On top of that, the serious tone of her voice gave us reason to expect the worst.
こちら藤田社。
This is the Fujita car.
私です。赤坂です。
This is Akasuka speaking.
何がありました？
What happened? I received a message from Matsuoka-san of the Gifu Prefectural Police. Apparently, around noon today, they found the head of a woman on a prefectural road deep in the mountains of Gifu Prefecture. God, she is speaking so fast. When Kero-san heard the news, he told me to tell you immediately. Like, so frantically. And then they...
落ち着いてください。
Please, calm down.
そこに何があったんですか？
What's happening there? Along with the remains, they found a doll with the name Kimiyoshi written on it. The full details haven't been released yet, but they said it was an old woman around age 70. Uh-oh.
赤坂さん。
Akasuka-san.
それって。
There's no need for Detective Fujita to say it. I felt the same thing. The news is starting to break on TV. I also tried contacting Oishi-san, but I couldn't get through. Once I make contact, I'll head over there as soon as possible.
わかりました。
Understood.
とにかく私たちは現場に急ぎましょう。
Let's hurry to the site.
了解です。
Roger! Maybe we can still make it in time. No, we have to make it in time. I clenched both my fists as I passionately convinced myself of that. Ugh. Alright, we're gonna have to end it there. I apologize so much for the rough reading, and probably me sounding gross and terrible. Maybe I just shouldn't have tried to even force a stream tonight. Hopefully I feel better tomorrow. That's for damn sure. There should be a stream tomorrow, but not if I continue to feel bad. But I think this is just a one-off, like I said, like a allergies thing. Tomorrow's gonna be interesting. So technically, what time is it right now? Oh yeah, like literally 24 hours from this time exactly tomorrow. My copy of Death Stranding 2 does unlock. I bought it digitally. So it becomes available, and I'm going to play that on the channel. I'm very excited. It's going to be a very slow, long play of Death Stranding 2. I'm very excited for that game. most excited I've been for a game in quite some time. But I don't know what I'm gonna do. I don't know if I'm gonna play it. I mean, it's 11 at night. Who knows? I don't know if I should just not even try to play it tomorrow night and then just play it on Thursday, or do I play it for just a little bit, get a taste of it, and then we, come back the next day? Or do I just do something else tomorrow? Or do I do some other thing leading up into playing a bit of Death Stranding? I don't know. I'll have to decide. I'll have to think about it throughout the day tomorrow. I haven't landed. I thought I would land on an idea by the end of today, but I don't have an idea. I am but a fool with no idea. So, again, apologies about how the reading sounded tonight. I imagine we'll probably, there's going to be I'm going to be very tempted to, throughout the next several days, just play a shit ton of Death Stranding 2, but I will definitely try to carve out some time for other stuff, especially some Higurashi reading, so I would expect, it's not like, I don't think we'll not see any Higurashi reading, sometime this weekend, so yeah. More Higurashi reading. It won't just drop off the face of the earth. But really, schedule-wise, once Death Stranding hits, it's going to be a slow, long play of that. Time-consuming, for sure. But I'm excited for it. But other things, I mean, we cleared out a lot of things. So, it's not the worst thing, but I'm, sick and rambling. I'm gonna go head off and, I don't know, take a bunch more allergy medicine or something. I wish I didn't feel so bad. Sorry. We'll read more later in a few days. I'm interested. This seems like we're hitting some kind of climax here, doesn't it? With this investigation. I'm kind of surprised so many bad things are happening. With this being an answers arc to the last thing we read, I would assumed maybe we were going to get on the edge of bad stuff happening, but then it was all going to resolve itself. But this seems like we're in the thick of bad. We've lost her. Alright. Until tomorrow with something. I don't know. I'll have to figure out. Until tomorrow. So long.